Hey guys, welcome to the spoiler review of Doctor Strange. This is First Reaction. My name is Easy Eve, and so here we go. So the first thing I want to mention in the spoiler review is the only thing that really nagged me very bad. It didn't really nag me, but it did bother me when it happened was the fact that the Ancient One, played by Tilda Swinton's character, is her death was very predictable. I think right at the point where she has to fight, what's Mads Mikkelsen's character's name, right in the midpoint there, you know she's not gonna beat him in the middle of the movie, right? So the only other option is for her to probably die. And we also need to kind of leave room for the new Supreme Leader, right? And I guess if you know a little bit about Strange before coming to the movie, you could have guessed that she was going to die, but in this movie or maybe the sequel, and I think that just comes, if you've seen my non-spoiler review, this part was kind of the epitome of knowing the character development, the character arc of Doctor Strange being not very original, right? Even though it maybe stays true to the comic or to his character, but it is a little bit unoriginal. And this death was not very emotionally engaging to me. I was just like, oh, I don't know. It was kind of just whatever to me. I love her character and I think she's badass. But anyways, let's talk about the other things. So really cool part. I think one of the most spectacular visuals I've ever seen on the big screen was when the Ancient One, when Benedict Cumberbatch just comes to first meet the Ancient One, but before he knew the potentials of sorcery, she showed him and literally enlightened him to the possibilities out there, right? And he goes on this mind-bending trip that just, whoa, not just a mind-bending trip for me, but also a mind-bending trip for the character. And it was just visually spectacular and creepy at the same time with the things that were happening, but also like very it was true to maybe the mind state of Doctor Strange at the time, right? He's seeing all this magic for the first time and he does not know what to think of it, and the audience does not know what to make of this visual spectacular, abstract, also very creepy things that are happening on screen, right, with all the hands and going into the eye. But what's good about this part is it also this is where Tilda Swinton's character, the Ancient One, explains to Doctor Strange about the multiverse and how different dimensions and different universes are evil, and some of them are hungry, some of them are good, like ours, right? Or some of them are just bad. And the one where spoiler review, Dormammu, the main villain here, right? He shows up at the end and you see him. He exists in this universe that is devoid of time, but also devoid of life, right? And it's very purple and ugly and dark looking. You don't want to live there, but for some reason, Mads Mikkelsen's character wants to make that and wants to spread that throughout all the universes. And I guess he wants to be immortal, but at what expense is that, right? Being immortal, for what expense? If you're going to be immortal, does that mean you're still going to be human? And all of that sort of thing. And that's what we deal with, and we do find out that Dormammu is actually in this movie, and we get to see him, and which leads me to the final showdown. So while Mads Mikkelsen's character is turning Earth, or wants to turn Earth, is about to turn. While Mads Mikkelsen's character is about to turn Earth into, and engulf it into Dormammu's universe, who he likes to destroy planets and stuff like that. And Doctor Strange gets this bright idea, which speaks to Doctor Strange just character as a hero that's not just all action and bronze, but also of wits, right? Remember, he's a doctor and he's very smart, right? Mind you, by this point in time, Doctor Strange has the eye of Agamemnon, the eye thing, okay, and which has a time gem in it, if I'm not mistaken. So he gets to control time, and they tell him at the beginning, look, this is what you're doing is very different. Mordo, in particular, right? And but as I said, or as they mentioned before, Dormammu's universe is devoid of time. So what happens is Doctor Strange is not gonna fight Dormammu, right? Let's be honest. But he can outthink and outsmart Dormammu. He brings time to Dormammu's universe and uses it to trap Dormammu into a time loop at the expense of Doctor Strange dying every 5 minutes or so, basically, in different ways, right? Doctor Strange was going to sacrifice himself and did sacrifice himself over and over and over again for the sake of Earth until Dormammu gives up, gets tired of this time loop, and does not kill Doctor Strange and makes that deal finally to not destroy Earth, basically. Which I was like, holy shit, that's genius! And oh man, it's already a good movie, but at the time, but it was just been mostly action until then. Then Doctor Strange, his wits just came at the end, and I love it when it's not the usual way to solve a problem, and it's something that you wouldn't think about, right? Because for a lot of the Marvel movies, things are kind of intricately designed to come to a final showdown where one hero has to fight a villain and overpower the villain just by fighting, basically, right? But in this case, there was no way Doctor Strange, he's a relatively new sorcerer, right, who stumbles upon these powers, and he just wanted to fix his hands. He doesn't get to, okay, but throughout his journey he learns another way to save the world, and even though he's a pretty good natural warrior, he's not very experienced, but what he is experienced in is being smart, and that's his whole thing. So you would think that with Iron Man movies already come out, and Hulk movies, right? Movies where the hero is not just, a superhero, but also very brilliant scientist. You would think in some of their movies, they would, outsmart the villain. Or maybe in some of the Iron Man movies. I'm not really sure even then. But in this case, it was clear cut that the only way to save Earth was to outsmart the main villain, and not just to out-hero them, right? Not just to be sacrificed, be brave. But in this case, Doctor Strange was also brave. So, I love the ending. And that really brought this movie over the top for me, right? From, in my review. So, and also at the end, I want to talk about Mordo, Master Mordo, Chiwetel Ejiofor's character, right? He's been kind of, the Ancient One has been guiding both of them, but I kind of see, throughout the movie, you kind of see Mordo as being the big brother, or like the mentor, kind of big brother of Doctor Strange, and guiding him and stuff. But the thing about Mordo is, and it's discussed in the movie, is he's very idealistic, and and with the idealism, he is betrayed to learn that actually the Ancient One was using dark magic, basically, right? He was all upset about that, and the Ancient One says to Doctor Strange, "Look, sometimes you have to bend the rule if you want to win against these guys who are so powerful. Sometimes you have to, go against the grain, be creative, and screw basically your ideals sometimes, right, for the greater good." Okay, but it doesn't register with Mordo. Mordo, if it was up to Mordo, the Earth would be destroyed, but at least he did not break his ideals, right? His of just doing things the way you're supposed to be. You're supposed to do them. And that kind of, it leads Mordo to excommunicate himself from the rest of the sorcerers, okay? And we see this in one of the second post-credit scene, where Mordo goes up to this guy who is using his powers merely to not be paralyzed anymore. Okay, in Mordo, he has this revelation where he thinks that there are too many sorcerers now out in the world, and that's the problem, right? Because I guess he does not want to break his ideals. I guess I'm thinking right now that I think he doesn't want to. He thinks that because there are more sorcerers in the world, they're not gonna do things the way he wants them to be done. So he's taking his own moral stance in his mind, and I think he's going after all the sorcerers in the world. And we are now lacking a supreme leader. Now, Doctor Strange does not get to the supreme leader status in this movie, but he does become the master of New York, right? For some reason, New York, London, and Hong Kong are the three major hotspots that are protecting the Earth. They'll explain it to you in more detail. It's kind of convenient that it's New York, Hong Kong, all big cities, right? And they say it's all big cities now, but I mean, I guess it makes sense. But anyways, you know, Doctor Strange is the master of New York, so Avengers are there. You get to see the Avengers building in this. And the other post-credit scene is, a link with Thor Ragnarok. So we're going to be seeing Doctor Strange and Thor Ragnarok, at least for a little bit while they're in New York, because he tells Thor, and hilariously keeps refilling Thor's beer. He tells Thor that, okay, let's go find Odin. So I'm looking forward for that team up. So yeah, I already gave a score for this movie in my other review. It was a 3 out of 4 on a scale of 0 to 4. Because of the weakness in the plot in the first part of the movie that I mentioned in my other review, and also the emotionless death of the Ancient One, can't give it a perfect score, but it's 3 out of 4. Strong recommend. I think you should go spend your money in theaters, and let me know what you think. Yeah. So thank you for sticking with me this long. If you have made it to the end, like or subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Peace.